Congratulations, you have an awesome opportunity. Now here's how to present a business proposal to a client. What's one of the biggest mistakes that executive coaches, consultants, trainers, and other expert-based business owners make when they've got a proposal to send to a client? It's sending the proposal to a client over email and putting the ball squarely in their court. A proposal is not a document, a proposal is a conversation. And in this video, we're gonna share with you an exact 5-step process for presenting a proposal to a client so that it's not just a successful conversation, it sets you up to win the opportunity. And before we wrap up, I'm gonna share with you what to do in this conversation to make sure that your client moves forward with a sense of urgency so you can get paid and get going. Let's dive in. Before we get into that 5-step process, let me give you 2 rules to live by. Rule number 1 is never send a proposal over to a client before you have presented it live, whether in person or over a tool like Zoom. Rule number 2, never present a proposal to a client that you have not already co-created the solution with the client. By the time you're getting to the point to present the proposal to them, 80 to 90% of the details should already have been worked out with the client. The proposal presentation should not be a surprise birthday party that they don't know what to expect. It should be going over the things that they've already discussed with you and filling in some additional holes, dotting some more I's, crossing some more T's. If you haven't discussed the big things with the client, like how long of an engagement, what's going to be included, and most of all, the budget, the finances, then frankly, you have not actually co-created a solution with a client, and you are setting yourself up for disappointment when you get to the proposal and presentation stage. So we don't want you to do that. We want you to co-create, and we want you to present the proposal live. Now, let's look at the 5 steps you want to follow on how to present that proposal. Step number 1 is to make sure you set up the logistics of the meeting the right way. First and foremost, don't just book 1 appointment, book 2. Because in today's world, given how insanely busy decision makers are and how difficult it is to get 3, 4, 5 people together for a meeting, you want to have the primary time slot, and you already want to know what the backup time slot is if for some reason they have a fire drill that day at the office and they can't make the meeting. So don't just book 1 time slot, book 2. The second thing you want to do is book a minimum of 1 hour. And frankly, it's 1 hour for more simple opportunities, engagements that are clearly scoped. If you're working with an organization on something that's pretty complex in delivery, chances are good you could need anywhere from 90 minutes to as much as 3 hours. You really have to plan on that based on the level of complexity in terms of what it is that you or your firm is being brought in to do with these organizations. Number 3, you want to make sure you know for sure who is slated to be at this meeting. Don't just know that it's going to be Bob, Jane, and Sarah. You need to know the job titles of each of these individuals, and more importantly, you need to understand what their relationship is. What is their role to the project, to the engagement, the solution that's being discussed? Why are they there? And a great way to ask that question is using that relationship word that I just shared with you. What is Bob's relationship to this? What is his involvement going to be if we were to move forward? Really important for you to understand that so that when you get to the meeting, you know what types of questions to expect from each of the participants there, as well as some of the things you might want to emphasize for the folks who are in that meeting. Plus, this is also going to give you a chance to do a little bit of sleuthing online. Check these folks out on places like LinkedIn so you can read a little bit about their background. It may turn out that you and Bob once worked for the same brand. That's a point of commonality, something that overlaps between you and them that you can share when introductions are made at the beginning of this meeting. So make sure you have enough time, make sure you've got that backup time slot, make sure you know who's coming, and make sure you know why they're there. Step number 2 is to navigate the logistics of the proposal itself. If you're meeting with a group of decision makers in person to present the proposal, you want to make sure you bring printed copies of the proposal that are, number 1, spiral bound, number 2, printed on a single side. Don't be cheap and print double-sided and everybody's having to flip-flop the proposals upside down in order to follow along. Number 3, don't use slides that have a colored background. A lot of people like to use these slides now that have a solid purple background or blue background or green background. You want all of your slides in your proposal to have a white background because you want everyone in the room to be able to write on every slide easily as they're going through the proposal. There's actually a psychological, emotional connection that is made when humans write on documents, and you want them to save that proposal because they wrote a bunch of notes on it. So make it easy for them to do that. And even though I said in step 1 that you want to ask who's going to be in that meeting and you think it's going to be 3 or 4 people, guess what? If it's in person, there's a greater chance that other people are going to drop into that meeting. So you need lots of extra copies of that proposal with you so that when somebody comes in late to that meeting, you can just slide that extra copy across the table. Plus, it's not unusual for the decision makers to ask for those extra copies because now they're going to go talk to a few other people inside their organization. Even though you tried to get everybody that you needed at that meeting, human nature is human nature. So they're going to take those extra copies and they're going to use them to facilitate even more conversations that they're having, whether that's with people on their team or their peers and colleagues, or even going up the food chain and talking to others. So you need extra copies. If you're presenting virtually over Zoom or another similar tool, you want to make sure that you do not send the slides in advance. This is a question we get all of the time, but you do not want to send the slides in advance. You want to make sure until everyone shows up and then you're ready to rock and roll with those slides. If you send them over in advance, chances are very good that if they cancel on you at the last minute and you've already given them the proposal, they've got the slides, they're going to be more reluctant to reschedule because they're going to feel they can now just review it on their own time and get back to you. So we really strongly suggest holding on to those slides until the meeting is underway. At that point, you can send the slides over, but even better, don't send the slides until the end of the meeting, because one of the things we've shared before in some of our other videos is you want to treat this meeting as a conversation and as a working session to dial in your engagement with the client even tighter. And so chances are good you're going to make some real-time changes to what you're proposing, what you've already discussed, tighten some things up. Now you want to make sure that only the updated version is shared with the prospective client. Step number 3 is to kick off this meeting with clarity and confidence, and most of all, on the right foot. So the very first thing you want to do, of course, is thank the decision makers and those participating in the meeting for their time and reiterating how excited you are to discuss this opportunity with them and that you're really excited about the potential of working with their organization. The next thing you want to do is reconfirm how much time you actually have for this meeting. Even though you have maybe booked an hour or 75 minutes or whatever the case may be, chances are good that something else has come up that day. There's some fire drill going on inside the organization and they all need to get to another meeting at 1:15, and so they're chopping 45 minutes off this meeting. You need to know that before you start the meeting. You also want to ask them if anyone else is planning to join the Zoom session late, or if anybody has to leave early. If someone needs to leave early and they're critical to the decision making, you may want to jump ahead in the meeting, in the conversation, to get to the part of the meeting that decision maker would care about most. So it gives you a chance to really customize how you utilize the time in this meeting and not be caught flat-footed when everybody says, you know what, we actually need to get going and wrap this up and we'll just take it from here and get back to you. That is not good for you. So reconfirm that time. Then you want to ask each person who's in attendance, which part of this initiative, this project, this program, they are most excited about. What piece of this are they most interested in? And take the time to ask them what's most important for them in terms of what you focus on in this meeting. Find out what's going to make this meeting a success in their mind and where they want you to spend the most time drilling down. And then last but not least, you want to share with everyone what's most important to you, what you think the most important thing is to focus on in this meeting, as well as where you want to be by the end of this meeting. So it might sound something like this. By the end of today's meeting, our goal is to make sure that you have all the details you need, that we've looked at the specifics, we've looked at the interdependencies, that we've looked at potential start dates and when we could have a kickoff session, so that when we leave here today, you guys would have everything you need in order to be able to make a decision and for us to move forward. So you want to make sure that you're giving them the flight plan. You know, when you get on a flight, the pilot tells you where you're headed and how long the flight time is to get there. Your job is to be that pilot for that meeting as well. Step number 4 is to present the proposal effectively. This may sound crazy, but it's really important that you know your proposal, that you know all the components in the proposal and why they're in there. As a former corporate decision maker, as someone who has an Inc. 5000 company today, I can't tell you how many times I've met with potential outside service providers and experts, and we're going through the proposal, and they've got something in there that I ask about that I dig deeper into. I'm not sure I quite understand it, and they can't tell me more. Someone on their team put that in there, or they put that in there because they heard somebody on my team say something, and so they throw it in, but they don't even know what it is. So make sure you really know what your proposal is and why everything is in there. The other thing you want to do during these meetings is make sure that you keep everyone engaged. Don't ask them, does anyone have any questions? Because you're just going to get a bunch of blank stares. Instead, you want to ask questions that are directly pointed at specific people. You want to say, Sarah, how do you feel about this element? Do you anticipate any challenges with this? Doug, can you share how your team would feel about this piece of it? Call people out by name and engage them into the conversation, and do that early on so it's not this thing that you try to throw in at the end of the conversation. You want to do it early on. You want to make sure that this isn't a presentation of you talking at your prospective clients. You want this to be something that is interactive and that you are getting more information that you need to make this solution, this program, this project even better for your client. Finally, step number 5 is to end the meeting with getting specific and direct about next steps. And you need a good 10 to 15 minutes of uninterrupted time, not Q&A time, but 10 to 15 minutes just dedicated specifically to what are the next steps that are going to happen after this meeting. Is there yet another meeting that needs to happen? Other than signing the agreement and getting your deposit paid, is the next thing to go ahead and book that kickoff session with the project team to get going on this? What needs to happen after this? Do you need to get set up with the organization in terms of being an outside service provider or vendor in their system? As specific as you can possibly get is what you want to do in those last 10 to 15 minutes. And if you're unclear about something, I can't emphasize this enough, please, please, please ask. Don't not say something in the meeting, close out a Zoom, and then wonder, so are we moving forward? What's happening now? Don't do that to yourself. Speak up and ask respectfully, but if you're not clear, ask. Now, I promised before we wrapped up that I would share with you the secret to moving opportunities forward with urgency, and this is one of the most important things that you need to do in this meeting. Even if you did it during the co-creation process, you want to do it again during this meeting because look, the goalposts are always shifting and they're always moving inside of organizations today. What you want to do is tie your project, your program, your effort, your initiative, whatever this proposal is about, you want to tie it to something specific that's actually happening on their calendar. It's not enough for what you're proposing to be important, to bring a lot of value to their organization, to solve an expensive problem that's going on in their organization. You have to tie it to something else that's on the calendar that is largely immovable, or at least difficult for them to move. Because if your project is tied to that thing, chances are good that they're going to make this a priority to get the deal done and to get going. As they say, work expands to the time allotted for it. If there is an upcoming conference that's on their calendar, if there's an upcoming top leaders meeting, an upcoming offsite, an upcoming project launch, an upcoming go live date with an internal IT system, an upcoming regulatory filing, upcoming budget planning that's due, anything that's happening that's out of this team's sort of direct control, and you can tie what you're doing to help them be ready for that thing, the more you tie those two things together, the more urgency there is, because you can't create that urgency. You saying, oh, there's a 5% discount, or if we get started now, we have the time to do this. That's all manufactured by you. You're looking for the urgency that is innate to that organization and to those decision makers. If you find that thing and you can draw a reasonable correlation between getting started working with you and them being better prepared for that thing that's on their calendar in the next 60, 90, 120 days, chances are much greater that they're going to go ahead and finalize this with you, sign the agreement, pay that deposit, and book that kickoff meeting. And that's what we want to see happen for you. Now that you know how to effectively present a proposal to your right fit client, we want you to have as many B2B high-paying corporate opportunities as there can be for your expert-based business. So what you want to do now is go watch my video on how to sell to corporate clients. And that's going to help you grow your business by getting even more opportunities into your pipeline.